and welcome along to Get in the Habit with myself, David Finch, and my co-host, Sue Allsworth. And we have a very special guest today, and that's Matthew Creel. How you doing, Matthew?
Good morning, guys.
Hi, Matthew.
Morning, Sue. Thank you very much for having me on. It's much appreciated.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to find so much out about what you do, how you help people, and the group that you run online. And I think it's going to be an eye-opener for Sue as well, because myself and Matthew, we both live in Wales. Matthew, you're born and bred in Wales, yeah?
Yeah.
Whereas myself, I moved over here.
And I was just saying, I've met a lot of people who live in Wales over lockdown, but it's actually nice to meet an authentic Welsh person today with a Welsh accent. I can just sit here, whatever you say, Matthew, I'm already in love because I'm just going to sit and listen to the accent. So, you're on a winner already. So, Matthew, enlighten me a little bit about who you are and what you do, because I know you know Dave, but we've just met for the first time. So,
yeah. So, like I said, thank you very much for having me on. My name's Matthew Creel. I'm 38. I'm living in the beautiful South Wales Valleys. Here in Blaenau. Extremely lucky to have all this mountains and scenery around us at the moment, especially due to lockdown. So yeah, we've kind of fallen in lucky there, to be honest. A little bit about what I do. I run an online community called named Tidy Butt. I know quite a lot of people, especially like what you just mentioned there. So when we was talking previously, you said it might have something to do with fitness, when actually is something to do in supporting people with their mental health and well-being. So what we do in Wales is call everyone butt, or when we think that something's going well, we say tidy. So I was going along the lines of every time I speak to one of my mates, or I see someone across the road or whatever, and you say, how are we doing, butt? And 99% of the time is, oh, I'm tidy, but I'm tidy, and that's how we greet each other. And regardless of how we are feeling, what we are thinking, 99% of the time, everyone's tidy, but so, yeah.
That like was that, I'm okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
exactly.
fine. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm all right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. I'm with you.
And to be honest, it's funny you should say that, Sue, because I've had some requests, because we've got a private Facebook group now. And I've had some requests from people from multiple countries all over the world, and you've got to answer a few questions to come into the group. And some people have put, "Oh, I love bums. I love bums," or I'm looking to get in shape with my behind and that kind of thing. So yeah,
I'm loving where this conversation's going already today.
you certainly ain't the only one, Sue, that's for sure.
It's funny. I think, Matthew, what might help, because I've lived here, I don't know, 18, 20 years almost now, something like that. And of course, all the kind of localisms, if you like, that I've got used to over the years. So when I first moved here, people sort of said, "Oh, your butt, how you doing?" And I thought, "What do you mean, oh, your butt? Butt? What are you saying butt for?" So, but everybody's called butt. It's kind of, it's almost like I've still got a lot of Essex in me, and I say mate all the time. So I call everyone mate, because that's what they do in Essex. Everyone's mate, regardless of who they are, they're mate. All right, mate, how you doing? And a mate is a substitute for butt, isn't it?
Yeah.
But should we sort of explain where it comes from? The kind of, the butty kind of, the name, of where it comes from.
To be honest, Dave, I haven't got a clue.
Oh, haven't you? Oh, right, okay. Well, I have. So should I enlighten people?
Yeah, if we don't mind, okay. Yeah.
So the story I was told, and this again, it may even need correction, but when I first moved, I was like, well, what's all this butt lark? And I said, oh yeah, what it is, when, because around here is a big mining area. So in the days of the mines, you would have a butty, and your butty was a young lad generally who would work down the mines, and you would be the guy on the shovel, on a pick or whatever, the kind of a heavy worker, shall we say. And the young lad who would be like, he would learn in your skills, and he would take your place one day. He would look after your sandwiches, your butties, your literally your bread and butter and your sandwiches in a box, and he would look after them. So he was always called your butty, and that's the story I was told. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. So
That makes some sense.
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
That's
And
good
I
enough
thought,
for me.
well, that's great, and what a great story, So there
So,
we go.
Dave, what is it? Not Dave, Matthew. So, what is it about the butt? How do you deal and look after the butt in one's life?
Oh, plenty of walking. No. No,
Because
so
obviously I'm coming from a place where now I'm understanding the meaning of the butt in Welsh. I know that I have to look after that area of my life and have done in the past. So I'm really intrigued to hear your side of it. So how does the butt work in your life?
so
Sorry, it's going to be innuendo after innuendo.
yes.
I knew this was going to happen soon.
I've got to put my serious face on again. Sorry.
Yeah, do your serious
Please
face.
tell us, Matthew.
So it started around 20 years ago for me. So I had quite a promising rugby career. Unfortunately, it was cut due to a heart condition. I was cut short due to a heart condition. And if I'm totally honest, I struggled for, well, it's 20 years, it's sure to be fair, until about 2 years ago. I felt when I lost my career, it was my identity. It was everything I was, to be totally honest. I didn't deal with the grief of losing my career or my potential career very well, if I'm totally honest. I lived for the weekend and just planted it at the back of my mind and just kind of plodded through day-to-day life. Back about 2 years ago, I finally decided to take control of my thoughts. I reached out to my wife. I spoke to my doctor. I kind of accepted the fact that after all this time, that the grief of losing my potential career was the thing that affected me the most. And like I said, I didn't deal with that very well. So it was one evening I was talking to my wife, and I said, look, if I feel like this, there've got to be other people feeling this way. So that was kind of when Tidy Butt was born, to be fair. Maybe not the name, but the idea in general was just a case of, maybe if I can set something up online, maybe a private Facebook group, or just post the odd thing on Instagram now and again, just to give people a little bit of a pick me up, a little bit of inspiration or a little bit of positivity, whatever it may be, and hopefully make a bit of a positive impact. Now, it started off quite small, to be fair, and it's just grown organically over the past 11 months. But
well, there would be an awful lot of grief about loss of jobs in the last 11 months, to be quite honest. I mean, it's interesting listening to you, because we look at grief and loss as a bereavement of someone passing or dying, but we don't realize I've had to deal with my own grief and loss for different reasons, but not due to death, because you've lost a way of life, you've lost that you link to your identity and a job or something. So we've got that old, I think, stiff upper lip attitudes that still kind of bled through from the world wars, that has gone in, generational. It goes down, doesn't it, passed on, but we're now moving back out of that, I think, and that's not enough for us, because we just blindly we were almost like in tuned to just, right, something's happened, keep going, head down and get on through, when actually you do need to stop and take stock sometimes, don't you?
I think that was such a refreshing thing, Dave, when I joined you on the men's den call the other day, mate, to be honest, because it was so refreshing to see a lot of older people talking in regards to mental health and well-being, because as we all know, back years ago, it was something that just wasn't spoke about in the home, was it? Do you know what I mean? I certainly can't recall a time where I heard my father or grandfather talking about mental health. Do you know what I mean? And I think the more we can make it predominant now, especially within the home, people like myself, I'm I'm lucky enough to have 2 young children myself, both males. So I'm perfectly aware that it's really important for them to be hearing these kinds of things from me. And I think me showing my vulnerability to them guys is key in order for them to be able to speak to me and my wife, and also reach out to other people if they do feel like they need to speak to somebody.
There's a big there's a big stigma still about mental health, talking about one's feelings, even for women. But there is a bigger stigma, sadly, for men, because if you look at it, this is not saying that I agree with this, but the stereotype of how we've been brought up in our culture: the men go out, they, you hunter gatherer, you bring the money in, you look after the home for the family, what have you. That is still there inbred in us. We can't eradicate that, although we are moving away from that stereotype now. That has been there, and that men can't be seen to be strong. You've got to be showing up to be strong and in control and in command, and vulnerability, for whatever reason, whoever started the idea that showing your vulnerability is meaning weakness, when actually it is the absolute opposite. It is showing strength. But it isn't easy for people to talk. And it's great. Is your group a men's group then, I'm assuming, that you've started, or is it for everyone?
To be honest,
because we all have butts.
Yeah. Initially when I was first thinking about putting the group out, I was thinking predominantly male, but I went down the route of just seeing how it went, to be fair. I thought, right, I'm not just going to say it's going to be male. Let's incorporate women within the group and let's see how it goes. Because what I didn't want to do was allow women to come into the group and then the males then think, oh, shit, there's women in the group here. I'm not going to say anything. But to be totally honest, it seemed to have had the adverse effect. I think there was a few women early on coming to the group, and they done a share, or they shared their stories or their journeys, whatever. And it seemed to encourage more males to come out and have the confidence to be able to speak a little bit more. Now, I'm sure, well, I know for a fact, not everyone on the group is writing stuff, but what a lot of people are doing is reading what people are writing. They are reading the comments, and then they are taking something, or they're taking value from that. I think just having the understanding that actually I'm not the only person feeling this way. There is other people out there that feels the same. And just having that, I think just that group where people can actually go on, they can read something, they can take something away, maybe some tips or coping strategies or whatever, without actually feeling as though they're exposing themselves too much.
Yeah.
I totally know what that feeling. I can feel it. I'm feeling it in my heart right now, because that feeling of feeling alone. I've had mental health issues in the past due to a physical hormonal condition. Us women and our hormones, it was nearly the death of me, and had serious depression, manic depression, and attempted suicide twice in my life. So obviously not very well, because I am still here. So to tell the tale.
Unsuccessful.
Thankful.
Really.
There was a light in me, but I know, I remember at that time sitting there thinking I was a freak. I was alone. A lot was changing for me in that time in my life, with my spirituality and being open up to other things. So then you're thinking, am I completely crazy for going down this route? And then you've got the hormonal craziness. So put it all together, and it was just like, so I know what that bottom of the barrel. And I mean, I used to, and I've got a little bit of an understanding with you, Matthew, because when I was from the age of 7, 8, I had private tennis classes, and my dream was to be at Wimbledon, and that was my goal. There was a couple of reasons why it was never going to happen. I didn't actually grow past 5 foot, and that really would be a bit of an issue playing against Serena Williams. I'm not saying that, height's an issue, but, when you really are quite small and tiny, going up against someone like that. And I had a knee thing. and I had to decide whether I went to tennis or table. I was playing table tennis as well, and I had to stop tennis because it was less pressure on my knees to play table tennis. And that was a big loss. It was a loss of a dream. It was a loss of that possibility. I played for Kent. So I was, like you, making my way up and that. And yeah, when you've got all your hopes, that is what you want to do. That is your passion. That is all. You can't see anything other than that. Then when that's taken away from you, luckily I was young, so I could adapt really quickly because I hadn't settled into any groove at that point. So for you, when you were older, that must have been, you know, quite traumatic, actually, to be fair, without you even necessarily fully understanding it at the time.
Certainly, definitely. Thank you for sharing our personal story with us. It's touched me a bit, that did. But no, in regards to, like you said, from a career point of view, all I ever wanted to be was a rugby player. There was nothing else. There was no other option. There was no, come on, Math, get your head down in school because rugby may not work for you. It was working. It was happening. It's all I was. So for it to be taken away, as you said, grief is a strong word to use, but it definitely was. It was like losing a loved one. I've tried to explain that when I speak to my wife about it.
I get it.
I've dealt with it very well now, but it took me a lot of years to actually understand how I was feeling about it and how much it actually meant to me. Because when the rugby was taken away, I remember looking at myself and thinking, who the hell am I?
Yeah. I mean, coming from that sporting background, I mean, I'm complete opposite now. I haven't really got a competitive bone in my body, but if anyone who knew me from that age and in my 20s still, probably when I had hormones actually, I was an exceedingly competitive person, and to be at the top of your game, like in rugby or in anything, I get it. You're in that zone. You've got to consume it, eat, breathe, sleep it, to think that you're going to get to that top. If your dream is to get to the number one of that in your sport, you do have to be quite selfish and almost egotistical to get there, to blink at everything else out. And that's not necessarily because you're a bad person, but that's what you've got to do to, you know, all the top athletes and everything in the world, you know, have got to have that mentality. And it's almost like you're going from fight to flight, because all of a sudden it's like, you know, when you've gone out into, you've been trained to go to a war, you've been trained to kill, you come out of the army, that does not go away. You're still there. And with the sport, just because you now can't play, that in you, that the competitiveness, the aggression that you have to put with that, all of that is still in with you, and you've got no outlet for it anymore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. So what I did was, so I went from training 4 or 5 times a week, playing on the weekend, to not having the ability to walk up the stairs in the house. It was that drastic. It was overnight. But eventually, about maybe 3 years later, I was thinking to myself, hang on, I'm starting to feel a little bit better here. And I was still craving that buzz that rugby gave me. Like Saturday morning would come and I'd be like pacing back and forth around the house. I'd be like getting my kit bag, looking in my kit bag. So not going on against the doctors and the surgeries, the surgeon's advice, I did actually put my boots back on. I went and played for a local team. I played for a few local teams actually, just to try and get that little bit of, I don't know, maybe that purpose again, I suppose, maybe that little bit of that feeling of, yeah, because I never found that buzz that rugby have given me ever again. The
buzz that I got from playing, and when I was doing a good match, there's a few moments in my mind that are coming back to me now. The buzz that I got in those moments, I can honestly say they're unique to that sort of environment, shall we say. So, and if you're not in that environment, it is almost like an addiction, isn't it? Because you've got that high from the adrenaline, from the endorphins, and what have you. So no, I totally.
But it's the simple things as well. It's like getting your kit bag ready in the morning. It's like I had the same breakfast every Saturday morning. I travelled to the game. Do you know what I mean? You'd be on the bus with the boys. You walk into the dressing room and you'd smell the deep heat and you smell the mud and do you know what I mean? The fresh air. It's just that camaraderie with the guys. Do you know what I mean? The banter. And that was the thing that I was really, really missing. I did put my boots back on for a few seasons, but if I'm totally honest with you, I didn't enjoy it because of the medication I was taking, because of my heart condition. I was super worried before the game, so I'd be very, very anxious before the game that something would happen. During the game, then I might take a knock or a bang, and due to some of the medication I'd be thinking, oh bloody hell, I wonder if, like, because I was taking warfarin at the time, so I was thinking, like, I wonder if I've had a bleed or something like that. And then after the game, I was full of anxiety for 2 or 3 days because I was worrying that something might happen due to the injury. So it wasn't something that I personally enjoyed, if I'm totally honest with you.
You
Looking
weren't
back,
free to be you,
certainly not.
because
I couldn't express myself, but I wanted that feeling again so bad that I was willing to actually, when you think about it, you're willing to risk your life for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Matthew?
Well, I mean, what and as I say, I can relate to it on many. It's brought back I've got a little bit of flashbacks going on in my head at the moment of all different scenarios.
You playing tennis, table tennis.
I did tennis and table tennis for Kent.
Yeah.
So and it was a big part. You know, my mum in the school holidays, my mum would be taking me around to every tennis tournament. I didn't have a school holiday. I played tournaments every week. Table tennis, my dad would be taking. So it's really sort of taking me back a little bit down memory lane, in the sense that I know what it's like. And also, as you say, you're not just losing, don't touch on that, you weren't just losing your sport, you were losing a whole family connected to that sport. So in one day, you're part of this massive team, family, camaraderie, and then the next day, that is not there anymore. And unless you're in it, people don't get it. Although, they're there for you, we're on the phone, but unless you're in that environment with them, you're missing that. Again, it's a buzz, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. And this is something I'm really, really passionate about with the group Tidy, but it's trying to create an environment where people feel a part of something. So I totally get it in regards to the rugby. So, and I know, especially at the moment, people are feeling the loneliness and the isolation from lockdown. So it's really, really important to us that we can try and create an environment where people can come and be a part of something and feel as though they belong.
Yeah, Matthew, share with us some of the habits that you've got now, because we're called Get in the Habit with the podcast. So I think it'd be nice now. And I know that you've got an online calendar, so you might want to mention about the calendar and some of those habits that not just yourself, but other people can get into as well. And I know a lot of your posts are around, getting into the habits and doing different things, like you say about making your bed, which is an important, just a simple thing that you can do, but you take control. So would you share some of those with us?
Of course, yeah. Now, to be honest, Dave, for years, mate, I lacked structure, I lacked routine in my day, and I was kind of all over the shop, to be honest, until I look at it now as I don't know if it is the sportsman in me, but I look at it as personal performance. So how am I showing up every day for day to day in the game of life, and if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, in regards to first thing in the morning, the first thing I'll do in the morning is just make my bed. Straight away, I get out of bed, I make it straight. It's a win. Now, people make the bed in the morning and they just do it natural without even thinking, right? It's a win. You get up, you go to the shower. It's a win. You come down, you eat an healthy breakfast. It's a win. You hydrate. You get yourself dressed, you get yourself up ready for the day. Like, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. we're on a Zoom call, we're on a chat, it's a win. So already I've got 5 or 6 small wins, right, that I've started the day off well. And if we keep counting these small wins, regardless of what they are, and a lot of these wins, right, they might sound silly, but it's a habit. You brush your teeth, it's a win. You're washing, it's a habit. You're winning every single day without even realizing.
Yeah.
I'm for people who are just listening to this and not watching the recording. You've moved me here. I've got actual water welling up, because when you are at rock bottom, you'll take a win. And we put these wins too big. We put these goals, as you say, that we make goals too big, so we're already self-sabotaging and setting ourselves up to fall. When actually my win was simply waking up and looking at my parents and reminding myself that that's why I had to breathe that day. That was my win.
Yeah, 100%.
And if I didn't do anything else during that day, but that is the one thing that got me through, breathing and still alive at the end of it, that was my win for the day, because it had to be just one thing and a simple thing. So you don't have to have loads of wins. And if it is just one win a day that keeps you going for each day, then that's better than no wins. But a win is better than
the beauty.
It's better than nothing.
The beauty I find with these small wins is that everybody's wins are different for a start.
Yes.
Everybody's wins are different. And the beauty with these smaller wins is, over time, if we consistently concentrate on these smaller wins, they will compound and they will build momentum into bigger things. And before you know it, you're doing 4 or 5 things without even realizing in the morning. So we've gone from maybe not wanting to get out of bed. Okay, I don't want to get out of bed today, but I've woken up. I've woken up and I've identified the fact that, hang on, I'm lucky to still be here today. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to get out of bed. And if it's not tomorrow, it'll be the next day. And I'll still be grateful for waking up. And if it's not the next day, it's the next. Now I speak to people in regards to activity. They say, oh, Matt, I can't build up the momentum to go out for a walk, or I can't build the momentum to go out for a run. I say, that's fine. Because what we'll do over a process of 2 weeks, we'll build up to maybe standing or going outside and walking up the street. But let's start with a small thing. So get up in the morning, one day, maybe have a healthy breakfast, get hydrated. And the next day, we'll do the same again. But what we'll do the next day is you'll put your sports kit on. And if you put your sports kit on and you sit on a settee, that's great. But you've gone another step forward in hitting your goal.
Yeah.
So the following day, we'll get up in the morning, we'll have a healthy breakfast, we'll hydrate, we'll put our sports kit on, and then we'll put our trainers on. And then we'll sit back on the settee because it's another small... Because then it's another small win.
Well, it's the thing is it reminds me, Matthew, of the fact that we have to remember when we were kids, we weren't just given a pen and could write. There were so many really basic little steps to start with. We just had to do a line, then we had to do just a little curve. So we forget. I think as adults, we sort of think, why aren't I getting this? Because we think as adults, we should learn something like uber quick or embrace something or change something so quickly, when actually you forget that in everything, in every change, in everything that you're doing in life, there are so many little baby stepping stones, small steps to get to that place. And I love the fact of how simple you have broken down those stepping stones and those wins, and it has really moved me today in many ways.
So what's your plans for the future, Matthew?
I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, Dave, to be fair. At the moment, in regards to Tidy But, we are in the process of registering now as a fully fledged charity, so we're hoping to be we are hoping to be up and running now by maybe hopefully the beginning of the summer. When that's in place, the world's our oyster, I suppose. But in regards to mental health now, Dave, we're in the process of creating some presentations and stuff, so we can start speaking to local sports clubs and local groups, and maybe start getting into some local schools and just talking to children regarding mental health. Because I heard a quote the other day by Robbie Williams, and he said, look, let's put down the sleeping policeman before the kid get run over. And I think that's key.
Yeah, it's a good quote, isn't it? I like that. Yeah,
it's amazing. I think everyone can resonate with it, because I certainly didn't put a sleeping policeman down before the kid got truly knocked over where I was concerned.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we are trying to build it all back up again. But I think the sooner we can get hold of these youngsters, they feel like they've got an outlet. They feel like they've got positive influences around them. They feel like they got people that they can reach out to, and they're aware of their thoughts, feelings, emotions. And being vulnerable is empowerment. It's not weakness. I think all these little things. I think the sooner we can get hold of the younger generation, and obviously a lot of the more mature people, shall I say, the sooner we can all start coming together and pulling together, mate, I think the better.
Yeah, and you've got some great ambassadors on board as well. So people outside of our area might not know some of these ambassadors you've got, but I'm sure if they follow sports, they will do. So do you want to mention who you got on board?
Yeah, so we've got former international Welsh prop, Rhys Thomas. Now, Rhys was capped for Wales. He played for Newport Gwent Dragons and Scarlets. He's got an amazing story, Rhys. He's actually on the podcast Saturday morning, so he's got an amazing story. He suffered with addiction and mental health issues due to a massive heart attack when he was training. So his story is incredible. Such an inspirational guy. We've got Mr. Jack Shaw, who again is a local boy. He's a former bantamweight cage warriors champion, and he's now fighting for the biggest MMA organization in the world, the UFC. And again, Mason Jones, he's a double champ or former double champ of Cage Warriors. And he again now have just signed a contract for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, which again is the biggest MMA organization in the world. So I think one of the biggest pluses for us as an organization is if these guys from these sporting backgrounds, so we've got rugby players and fighters now at the moment as ambassadors. We're talking to a number of other people at the moment. But I think, again, if people can look at us and say, well, hang on, he's going into a scrum on a Saturday, or he's from going into a scrum, they're stamping all over people, but he's willing to stand up in front of me and be vulnerable and tell me his story, right? It only inspires people to want to talk and want to share their stories, or maybe their thoughts or feelings. And exactly the same goes for Jack and Mason. They get in the cage and they're happy for somebody to punch them in the face. That's how simple it is. And I think
they're only young guys as well, aren't they? So for them to stand up, I mean, for older people, we're kind of been there, done it, got loads of t-shirts and stuff like that, and it's easy, if you like, for older people to say, oh, when I was young, we didn't do this. But they are younger people, and they stand up and they say, look, this is me and this is what I feel, and talk about feelings. And young people who follow them will then realise, right, it's okay to talk about feelings then. Because, a lot of the stuff, like you said, 20 odd years ago, you didn't know how to deal with it. But
I mean, don't we need the subject feelings actually on the educational curriculum? Because massively. If I look back on where my biggest problems were, it was all to do with emotions and feelings, because I didn't know that forgiveness was a feeling. I didn't know that blame was a feeling. I didn't know that resentment was a feeling. I didn't know that ashamed and embarrassment and happy, and you know about happy, sad, confused, but there's acceptance, there's all these other big words and emotions that love is actually the umbrella for a lot of that. Hate is the umbrella for the blame and the judgment. And I think we need to be able to teach kids to differentiate what they are really, rather than just I'm happy, I'm sad, because it means you're either in one camp or the other, and life is never that black or white, is it? Let's face it, there's a whole
range between there.
And this is a whole nother subject, and I'm aware of time. So Matthew, can I just say, wow, you've blown me away today. What I actually really like it when I go in blind. Dave was like, I'll tell you a bit about him. And I'm like, no, don't. Let me find out during the podcast. And it has been the most beautiful reveal and Thank you for showing up, showing your vulnerability. Thank you for looking after your butt. Had to get one more in there. But thank you for coming on to and as I say, you know, those little wins, take those little wins, even if it is just getting up and watching TV from the sofa rather than your bed. It's a win. You know, I love it. Thank you.
Win-win. Matthew, it's been brilliant talking with you today. Really, you know, every time we had a different kind of meeting the other day with Men's Sheds and, you know, Men's Den. And again, great to share that incitement to what you do and how your plans for the future. It's brilliant that you're going to be a charity as well. And I think that will really help you in the future. And I really hope you go from strength to strength. So, you know, thanks once again for coming on and sharing what you do. And let's hope that more people join your community from maybe listening to our podcast as well. And they can find you on Facebook. If they search for Tidy Butt on Facebook, do you come up quite easily?
Well, thank you guys both for the opportunity. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really great catching up. Thank you very much for the platform. So if anyone wants to jump on into our private Facebook group, you just go onto Facebook, search in groups Tidy Butt. There's a few admin questions to answer, and we'll just approve you can jump on in. Instagram as well is tidy_butt if you wanted to jump on that.
If you ping me the links, Matthew, I'll add them on the podcast. Dave can add them on the podcast, and I can add them in on the YouTube channel. So ping me the links, and we'll make sure it gets out there. That is
definitely. Thanks once again, Matthew, and thanks everyone for listening and watching. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching on YouTube. If you're listening on our podcast channel, well, thanks once again, and don't forget to subscribe, like what we do, and stay in touch. And once again, Matthew, thanks very much. Sue, it's been great to co-host with you as usual. I will see you again next week.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.